The Native Plant Nursery was originally intended to fill a void between landscape designers and the nursery industry, where even if you wanted to spec a native plant like a creosote bush or a native mesquite tree or Troyas, you couldn't purchase those plants anywhere. They weren't typically available in the nursery industry. And so that was part of the original intent, was to have a nursery that could grow these native plants that you find everywhere in the desert, but you couldn't get from the nursery industry. We are salvaging this saguaro from a new Pima County roadway project. And so they're going to extend Camino Verde through here. You can see the right-of-way stakes, and these plants, instead of getting bulldozed, are going to go back to the nursery and find a new home in another project. We salvage as many plants as we can possibly get our hands on, but the plants that we grow from seeds or do from cuttings are a much bigger part of the nursery inventory. And that actually helps the whole overall project have more of that variety of scale and ages that a natural landscape has. Twist it that way, yeah. Oops, wait a minute. Having all this pea gravel around it helps it send out fresh new little roots into the pea gravel, and it doesn't get too rotten and wet down there.
The cuttings, you take the cuttings off the tip of the plant and then strip them and make them a certain size, and they are supposed to grow roots theoretically to make whole new plants. It's typically better to do things from seed because you have more genetic variability.
There are two typical seasons when plants germinate in the desert, and that's summer monsoon season when the humidity is really high, and that's basically what we're doing in the greenhouse, is faking that summer monsoon high humidity. So it's always a little damper in there, a little cooler than the outside atmosphere, and that allows us to have a much longer window that we can germinate plants. Those are Pinea Greggii seedlings. Seedling hackberry, we've got some cuttings. Trixis californica, seedling ironwood trees, virgin bar clematis, all baby acacias, little white thorn acacias. And this is actually screwbean mesquite, is one of the species that used to be really common along the Santa Cruz. And when the water table dropped so far, it sort of died out down there. And this is one of the species that we're trying to reintroduce into the Tucson urban area. But it's a really beautiful tree. It's like having thousands and thousands and thousands of babies. You can't ignore them. You can't take off for a long weekend. Even these really sturdy desert plants that are very resilient and very forgiving, if they do happen to have something bad happen to the irrigation or something happens, you can't really step away from for too long or it'll suffer.
So what this is a Hunter I-Core system right here. It's the brains basically of the whole operation as far as the watering goes. We also hooked up this solar sink right here, and what this does is it cuts back water costs up to 60%. And it links up to a satellite up in space, and what that does is it adjusts it for the humidity, it adjusts it with water. This little station right here has corks in the control center right here, and what that does is when rain drops, it fills up these corks and it builds it, and that'll send a signal to this. This will send a signal to this, and it'll let it know it's raining. Let's go ahead and shut down the system.
There have been tons of studies that show having green space in an urban area leads to a healthier population. Things as simple as if you are in the hospital and you look out the window and you see something green rather than a brick wall, you get better faster. By putting these plants back into our urban areas is giving the pollinators the resources that they need. So even a little handful of milkweeds can be good for the monarch butterflies, and that gives them the resources to jump from pocket of vegetation to pocket of vegetation. So not only are we doing something that we know is good for the people in an urban area, we're also doing something that's really good for the critters in an urban area. And that way the whole entire system, everyone who's living in the desert, is benefiting from these plants.